The ramp ends. I'm Bryce,
And I'm Summer.
and on today's episode, we have the wonderful Dr. Bobby Kern, who is a fellow disability advocate and professor at Oklahoma Christian University.
Bryce, I really enjoyed this episode with Bobby. He's just got such a great personality and he's got a lot of wisdom to share.
This episode, like I say every episode, is one of my favorites because you guys get to listen to a real person tell their story from both sides of the coin, one as a professional and one as a parent with an with a child that has a disability. You won't want to miss this episode.
One of my favorite things about Bobby, well, a couple of my favorite things about Bobby is one, he's a stand-up comedian, which is fun.
Yes.
But then also the fact that he actually started a program to help churches be more inclusive. I think that's so amazing. There's such a need for that.
I agree. And we talked about a little bit in the podcast that the place where most people feel excluded is in the church. And if you also have felt that way or know somebody that has felt that way, please listen in to our episode with Dr. Bobby Kern, and maybe he can give you guys some headway on how to make your experience in the church a little bit better.
All right, so with that, let's get into it.
Oklahoma Christian professor and disability advocate, Bobby Kern. Welcome, Bobby, to our show today. Bobby is a father of a son with Down syndrome, and he documents on social media their journeys and adventures. Bobby, welcome to Where the Ramp Ends. We are so glad to have you on the show today.
Thanks for having me. I'm very excited.
So, if you could tell our listeners what encouraged you to start sharing your son's journey on social media?
Yeah, so wasn't something that we planned on, like a lot of parents. It was when we got the diagnosis in utero, we were shocked and surprised, and we had our own responses to everything. But one of the things that I kind of settled into pretty quickly is uh, I'm a professor, I'm a family life educator, and so I'm in front of people all the time, talking about things, and I thought, what better thing to talk about than our own lived journey? And so, I think it's been great for me, like, therapeutically, but it's also been really great. I've got a lot of feedback from other families, especially fathers, just thanking me for being so transparent, and that's all the motivation I need is to just help other people, and especially just to understand that this life is, um, even though it's unplanned, it's amazing. We wouldn't trade it for anything.
What an amazing platform to, with your collegiate, background, and since you're already in the university space, what a great way for kids to see, you know, that, hey, here's this guy that I'm learning a family life perspective course curriculum from, and he's a real life example of how to navigate family life because a lot of people, when they think of disability and they think of Down syndrome, most people are like, oh man, how challenging of a life he must have. And to add on that you are a college professor and the stress that goes along with that, I'm sure that a lot of people come up to you and say, "Wow, that's inspirational," but I'm sure you're like, "Man, that's just my life. There's nothing inspirational about it. It's just a typical Tuesday."
Yeah,
It's
absolutely. Absolutely. It's, yeah, and it kinda caught me off guard early on, because I wasn't trying to be inspirational. Um, the more I've done it, the more I really just wanna be impactful. I wanna be able to, especially with dads. I have a heart for dads, and I think sometimes as dads, uh, we're not taught how to emote and how to share our feelings and to really talk
Right.
about our feelings, and then something happens and we don't know how to deal with it. And so being impactful, I think, has been great. But yeah, you're right. I am not inspirational at all. I tell my students all the time, here's what your textbook says, and here's what real life is, and they don't always match up.
And that's funny that you mentioned dads. We had a episode a few days ago with a fellow social media advocate that has down his son has Down syndrome, a good friend of ours, Mike Dodd, and
Yeah.
he said similar things that he wishes that more dads were in the advocacy space. Why do you think that there's a lack of parent uh, father parental advocacy out there, and then it's mainly on the maternal side?
Oh, oh man, how much time do we have? So I think there's a lot at play there. There's a lot of system types of things at play there. I mean, we live in a culture that has valued uh, the maternal instinct of parenting over anything else. I mean, even in my own field in family science research, the vast majority of parent research for the first 70 years of real family research was it was called parenting research, but it was conducted with mothers primarily, and then just kind of assumed that it it generalized to fathers as well. And it really wasn't until really the last probably 30 years or so where we really started uh, parsing out the differences between fathering and mothering and seeing the unique contributions that fathers make as parents. And so we've got that at play. I think some of the things we talked about earlier of just we we've traditionally socialized men to be more of the um we're going to be more of the stoic and the kind of the rock that holds, that holds things together. But our we've socialized women to be the caretaker and the provider and the emotional support. And so I think some of that is just kind of defaulted um, that way. And then also I think there's a lot of just we may not be the best at processing things. I know when we found out about our son, my wife dove headfirst into every writing she could find about Down syndrome, and I, the expert, just retreated within myself and was very angry. And so, I think there's a lot at play. But I do agree, and I watched that episode, and I found myself cheering a lot during that episode because I echo that. I would love for dads to be more involved in the advocacy space.
I have a lot of moms message me, like, "We just got this Down syndrome, diagnosis," and I feel like it's the same story over and over. Mom is digging in, "How can I be the best mom? How can I, create the best life for this child?" And, they always say, "My husband's really struggling. My husband's really struggling." So I think it's pretty common. And, I do feel like more dads coming out and just sharing their struggles could be a huge benefit to
Mhm.
those dads that are just getting that diagnosis and just beginning that journey.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think even
A little bit about your son.
Just a little bit about my son.
Yeah.
Oh, he's fantastic. You can see the picture behind me. It's my favorite picture of our family, and that pretty much sums it up. He's the driving force, bringing everybody together for that big hug. Uh, we are. Let's see. He's about to turn 13, which is really scary. About to have another teenager in the house. He is. in middle school now, and so that's been a fun journey. He um he's he looks he looks just like me. He got my love of performance. He loves to be on a stage. He is the hit of his choir class. He's always singing and dancing. Loves that. He's my little athlete too. He pick a sport, he wants to play it, and he loves it. We're trying to work on it's okay to lose sometimes with him. He wants to win everything that he does. So that's a good drive. He is a big fan of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Bluey. Those those 2 things consume his little world, so, uh, we have lots of cartoons going on in our house, but, he's awesome. We have so much fun together, and, he's always performing, and, we're kinda hitting that age now too where he's really we're being intentional about teaching him lessons on, how to advocate for himself as well, and, so it's fun watching him grow up.
So I think we're hearing that he'll be a future youth leadership forum graduate when he is able.
Yeah, absolutely. Jen Randall's been, on his case since he was 3 years old to get into YLF, so I'm sure it's gonna happen.
Yeah. So speaking of that, what since you spoke at our partners in policy making graduation, you gave the invocation, and which that's how Summer and I got introduced with you. What is the biggest lesson that you learned from partners in policymaking?
That is a great question, and it's the easiest question I can answer about partners. 2 words, dream big. That was, a message that, I received early on in partners. Uh, we were still really, new into our journey. Everything was still really fresh, when I did partners, and um, I was trying to figure out all of this, what this meant being Josiah's dad and what that meant for me, and, um, I will never forget, it was, in a lesson with, Al Condalucci, when he said to me, "Why can't you just dream big?" And that's become our family motto. Uh, if you ask any of the 4 of us, uh what our mantra is, all of us will say dream big, and uh, I think that lesson's been good because what we've realized is it's not just dreaming big for Joe. Uh, we have big dreams for our daughter. We have big dreams for our marriage. We have big dreams for each other, and we've learned to not just not limit Josiah, we've learned to not put limits on any of us, and, um, man, we're having fun. We're doing some really cool things.
Yeah, I think that's what society loves to do with the disability community is they like to put everyone in the same box and kind
Yeah.
of, restrict and put limits on, the disability community. And that's one thing that angers me so much is it's like I don't know why there are people still stuck in the mantra that people with disabilities may or may not contribute to society the way a able-bodied person might.
Yeah, I share that frustration. Sometimes I'm baffled that we live in 2026 and we're still having these same discussions, especially just seeing, uh, I mean, just seeing the people that I know and love, not just in the Down syndrome community, but just, uh, in in disability culture,
Right.
yourself included, Bryce, that are doing things that are contributing, right? Like the fact that you all are doing this podcast is amazing. Uh, when I see friends on television and gaining celebrity status, uh, that you know that was unheard of when I was growing up, and now it's becoming more common, and yet we still have these we still have these barriers that we throw up in front of people, and it is frustrating.
Yes, and from my own experience, I'm a college graduate myself, and even, when I was navigating the college life, there were a lot of even, professors that I would give them my accommodation letter and they would kinda, you know, they would I would hand it to them and they would kinda do the normal, like, throw it in my desk and I'll deal with it later kind of thing. There
Right. Mhm.
very few professors were like, "Oh, awesome, you know, this this guy's got a disability. I'm gonna bring the best out of him." I had to almost prove, Bobby, that I belonged in the classroom, and as soon as I did, the professors were like, "Whoa, like this is." They were almost shocked, that
Yeah.
somebody with, you know, cerebral palsy and, you know, intellect was blowing their mind.
Yeah, no, well, one, I hate that that happened in the first place, but I have no doubt that you did blow some minds, and I think that's awesome. Uh, I've talked a little bit about this before. I think one of the bigger issues at the university level is a lot of faculty are trained in their discipline, but they're not trained in teaching, and so, those things like accommodations that and modifications and those types of things that are common words to us when we're navigating the the K through 12 space because of IDEA and um, laws around IEPs and least restrictive environments and those types of things. Those become more commonplace to those educators who were educated to be educators. And so I've argued for spaces for college faculty to be educated on being educators, and um, part of that needs to be a disability instruction and understanding that these accommodations aren't they're not just something that people are coming with to get out of work or to make life, to make university easy for them. Uh, this is this is real life, and these are things that we can be providing to make this a great experience for everyone. So, yeah, I'm with you, and man, I would love to pioneer that on college campuses and get faculty buy-in for it.
Summer and I were talking about this, in our private conversations, because we're constantly texting and emailing and, popcorning things. Do you agree that like a disability culture course at the university level would do well in opening eyes to another societal view of um different viewpoints? I think disability culture on the university level, taught by people that live with disabilities, would do wonders in that community. I really do.
Yeah, I think it'd be great. So I offer a course every few years called Families in Disability within my department, and it's a little different. It's really a family science course, and just talks about families' approaches to disability and how families advocate and all of those types of things. But I like what you're saying as well, and I think not even I think a couple of things. A course for students, yes, to be able to dive into that, just like we have other courses on race and class and gender and those types of things where we're looking at specific pieces of our culture, and teaching that to a broader audience. I think a disability course would be great. I think a training or a course or something that was geared specifically towards university faculty and staff would be really good too, uh, to just immerse an entire campus in disability thinking.
Bobby,
Well,
so the day that you spoke at our graduation, we had to do a plan, an advocacy plan, and I brought a young man over, he was actually a guest on this podcast.
Tyler
Why is
Tyler Ma
Tyler? Okay, so what Tyler Bond was standing there, and I said, "Tyler," I said, "I have a 5-year-old daughter that has Down syndrome, but she can't tell me what she wants me to
Mhm.
advocate for. Can you tell me, when you were 5 years old, looking back, what do you wish your mom had advocated for you?" And he said, "Acceptance in the church, inclusion in the church." And so I've got that on my list to, advocate here in my community, and then you got up and spoke, and you said that you actually created a program to bring awareness about inclusion to the church. Can you tell us a little bit about why that was important to you? And then, tell us a little bit about that program.
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay, well, first, the first half of my career, I was actually in youth and family ministry, and the whole reason I went back to school to get my PhD was because I was dealing with students who were having big issues, and I wanted to be a better minister to them. So, I have a heart and a passion for ministry and for churches. I'm a volunteer youth minister at our church right now. I love being in those spaces. I'm blessed to work on a private Christian university campus, which is there's ministry happening all the time. It's so awesome. So I have that part of who I am. And then in partners, one of the things that really stood out to me in couple of the classes and partners was the fact that the majority of adults with disabilities uh, report feelings of social isolation, and the number one place that they reported feeling that was in their churches, and that just broke my heart because that should be the one place that doesn't reflect society, right? That should be the one place where
Yeah.
everyone feels welcome. Uh, so that just yeah, that kinda set me on a path to see what I could do about that. Several years ago, I created a education program called Embrace, that I use with churches. I'm able to go in and talk with churches about um, what they're currently doing, and then we dream about what they could be doing. We talk about inclusion. We talk about it in all kinds of different ways, from inclusion of children in Bible class, and the idea of accommodations and modifications there, just like we do in school, where all kids can access those Bible lessons and be taught together, and uh, tea teachers don't have to be afraid of that, and of those kids being in their class. We talk about some of the physical aspects around a building. I mean, churches are notorious for building their buildings and not paying attention to ADA at all. So we talk about things like doors and ramps and sink heights and soap dispensers and all those types of things that people just don't think about. Uh, and we talk about how we talk about things that sometimes we think are churches doing good things, but maybe it's not the best. We talk about how if you go into uh, some of the older sanctuaries, the only space for someone who is using a wheelchair is in the back corner of that sanctuary. And I said, "Do you think that maybe people want to be in the middle of the sanctuary? Maybe they want to be in the front? Maybe they want to be surrounded by others? Like, we get the intent here. You've done you've done well in at least considering a space, but what more could we be doing, right? And so,
Yeah.
you kinda talk through some of those things, and, really, it's fun to do with church leadership because it really gets them, engaging and thinking about, their own ministry and why they a lot of times I hear, like, "Man, this is a reminder of why I got into ministry or into the pastorate in the first place was because I wanted to be a light for all people, and they're shocked by the numbers just like I was, but they're also, um, more times than not, they are very, eager to start implementing changes, and then I have to talk about, like, "Okay, I love the excitement, but also don't turn the fire hose on, right? You'll if you do that, you're gonna burn out really quick, and then you're gonna be back to square one. So let's talk about what can we implement now, and what can we start building towards, in the future." So, yeah, that's a passion project of mine, and, I don't do it as much, as I would like to, but, whenever a church calls, I'm definitely there,
Well,
answering the phone, so.
I love that. Is it a course specifically for church leadership then?
I've done different things. Really, I try to tailor if a church calls, I try to tailor it to what the church is asking. So, I've got some things that are very specific to leadership and how, specific ministries might be run, but I also I've done, classes and seminars and all kinds of different avenues of instruction for church memberships as well, and getting people to think about disability differently. So,
And you do that for just any denomination?
oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
any flavor.
any
That's
flavor.
one thing. Yeah, yeah, any flavor is fine with me, and that's the thing about the research. The more you get into it, it's not that people with disabilities feel isolated in certain denominations. It's
Mhm.
across It's across the kingdom, so.
Yes, faith is very important to me. I, my faith is very important to me, but I also feel like when I've stepped into church, like I feel like there's the certain kind of people that will look at me like I'm an amusement park attraction and be like, I get the stares or I get the weird looks like, why is he in here? And it's like I don't understand the the connotation behind that. Like, we're all supposed to be, you know, God's children and being accepted in the kingdom of God, but I feel like there is more uh turn away there in some environments than there should be.
Yeah. No, yeah, I agree with you, and, so my wife and I, even in our own, church congregation that we're at right now, I told you earlier, I work with our youth ministry. My wife is one of our children's ministers, and her primary focus is, um, disability and inclusion, and so, we have a buddy system in place for our kids where they have that one to one if they need it. That will be there in their class with them. We also really uh, kind of go out of our way to make sure that all of our kids are educated and understand uh, what understand what disability is and how to interact with it, and kids always get it better than adults do. So, we we love the way I don't think our son would ever say that he feels excluded uh, at our church, which I think has been really cool. Our church has kind of grown up with Josiah, and so they they have learned as we have learned, and we wanna share those lessons with others, because we don't want people I hate that you've experienced that. We don't want anybody to experience that, especially not in that place.
Right, and I feel that, yeah, it's like one of the places, like, social isolation, like Alcon Lucy said, when you're, you know, disabled and you only have between 40 and 50, you know, social connections, and the average person has 150, you know, those social connections mean a lot more. So when we talked to Al, and said that, making sure that those social connections are, you know, hammered home everywhere, they really have to be.
Yeah. No, I agree with you, and man, I wish I could tell Al every single day what an impact he made on me, but the sociogram that he, presented, that's actually part of I've included that in the Embrace education. Um, it's powerful when you get people to start diagramming out their sociograms, and then you come back and say, "Okay, now let's talk about the average person with a disability," and, it floors them, and I think that's man, it's such a powerful lesson.
That's a great way to get that point across to
Yes.
people.
Yeah.
We actually next week will have Thursday, we will have the executive director of the NACDD as a um, guest on our podcast. And then the following week, we will have the wonderful Guy Caruso as a
Ah,
guest on our podcast. So, you know, Summer was a little bit shocked when we started this podcast idea when I said, "Well, I've got Al and Guy Caruso already signed up to be on our podcast." She had to sit down for a minute. She was like, okay, this is going better than I thought. Okay. We might
They
we
w
might have
they were
something
on my
here."
wish list.
Yeah,
They were on my
yeah, that
wish list. I mean, you talk about dream big.
yeah,
I thought, "I'm gonna put him on the list because I'm dreaming big," and Bryce, like, the very next day, he's like, "Guys in, Al's in."
that's awesome.
Bryce is yeah, Bryce gets amazing guest.
We
Yeah,
also
Bryce
have
gets things done.
Yeah, I try, man. We also have in about 2.5 weeks, we have the amazing Patrick Schwartz also gonna join us.
Oh,
So
that's gonna be high energy. I can't wait for that one.
so
Yes.
I try to bring, guests that, really, wanna bring energy into the disability community. So, I said to Summer that I wanted this podcast to be a, you know, no excuse, high energy. We talk about anything on the podcast, no limits.
Yeah.
So, that's why we wanted to bring you on is because you are so freeing with, you know, talking about and showing, what you're doing with Josiah and what you're doing with your family. Does that make the life a little bit easier with special health care needs being able to showcase Josiah that he's living his best life? Does that make you guys feel that he is also sharing his message in a way through you guys?
I think yeah, I think that's yes is the simple answer to that. I think that it's good for us. I think it's been good for us because we've been able to normalize some things and kind of in that stigma that life is just dread and dreary now. And it's not to downplay the tough parts. There are still tough parts. There are still things that we're still fighting for. We're still fighting for uh, some inclusion and better accommodations in middle school. We fight in Oklahoma for um, uh, wage, right? Living wage for all workers, and uh, there's a lot that we still have to fight for. But we also, it's not doom and gloom, and we want people to see that we live busy lives, and both our kids are involved in the world around them, and uh, our family is it values our family time, and we value celebrating each other and all the different things that we do. And Josiah is a big part of that. But so is our daughter. And so in that sense, yeah, it's great. I think also to the second part of your question, yeah, I hope that what we're doing is laying a good foundation for Josiah to be able to continue to do that for himself as well, and to not just rely on mom and dad or big sister to be his voice. I hope that we're teaching him that he has a voice and he has value and that he's learning how to utilize that. We want him to do big things, right? We dream big for him, and
Yes.
uh, that's not going to happen if we do everything for him. We want him to get that independence and to learn those lessons himself too.
Well, you're giving him a wonderful example. I'm sure he's learning all the tips and tricks from you and your wife. Talk about big energy, though. You also are a stand-up comedian.
Yeah. Yeah, I do stand up and I do improv, here in Oklahoma City, and, Josiah definitely got that gene from me. He likes to tell his jokes are terrible, though. I gotta teach him how to write jokes, they're bad. But yeah, I do a lot of comedy. Comedy's my, kind of my outlet for things. Very involved in improv and the improv scene here in Oklahoma, and work with OKC Improv here in the metro area. And man, it's just so much fun. Do a lot. But one of my favorite things, I have a 7 minute bit in my stand up routine that is just me telling dad jokes and Josiah has a snare drum and a crash cymbal, and he's my rim shot guy. It's the best set I have because no matter how bad the dad jokes are, Josiah hits the rim shot and it gets a standing ovation. So I will milk that for as long as I can.
If you wouldn't have gone through partners in policy making and met Al and, got a crash course from Jen and Brad, do you think that you would have been able to, I mean, yes, you have, a son with Down syndrome, but do you think that you would have been able to dream as big for him if you weren't told by Al and the rest of the partners in policymaking cast that it was possible?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I would have got there eventually, but I know because of them, I was able to get there quickly, and which was good because Joe was still very young. I think Joe was only one when I got into partners, and so that really helped set the course for me. And then as an academic, I think on another level, it was not only good for me as a dad to be able to hear those things, but it was really good for me to hear uh, from other researchers and academics uh, on that level too, because that just normalized everything in another part of my life that, isn't always the most normal. Being a university professor is far from a normal 9 to 5, right? So, yeah, I think Partners was a huge blessing in so many ways, and I'm glad I took it when I did. My wife took it the next year, and we've been running nonstop in advocacy world ever since.
So, does that mean that, when Josiah is old enough, we might have a 3rd, generation Partners grad in the, Kern family?
Yeah, I'm hoping. Yeah, that's definitely something we wish for him. So we'll see if he wishes that for himself. But yeah, definitely would love for that to happen. And our daughter, I think, is already she's 16 and she's making plans. I think to do partners sometime in the future as well. So
That's
With a good
awesome.
with a
yeah.
good enough arm twist, Jennifer Randall will get all the Kern family in Partners in Policy Making.
Yeah, she will, and then she'll hold it over our heads for the rest of our
Right,
lives that she's
exactly,
yeah,
yes.
she's like the puppet master.
Uh, yeah, it's funny because Summer and I were at the Capitol, Monday. We met with, Representative Rosencrantz and,
Mhm.
um, just having a chat with him, and, I get a text shortly after I get home, and it was from Jen Randall because I'm also on the uh, DD council, and she said, "The next time you're at the Capitol and you don't tell me that you're there, I'm gonna kick your butt." Because she said, "I was there and we could have, all, hung out." I said, I didn't know your schedule." Like, I she said,
That's funny.
"Well," yeah. So, I mean,
I love that.
Jen Jen is everywhere even though she's not, even though you don't think she's everywhere, she's everywhere.
She
Jen
is she shows up
Everywhere.
everywhere. I was very excited, just a couple of weeks ago, I got my, badge on Facebook, for Representative Rosencrantz page as a top fan, so I was
Yes.
very, very excited about that.
I'm sure he was excited too. Um, well, we're gonna wrap it up because we know that you have another commitment, so we're gonna wrap it up. I'm gonna let Bryce ask you one last question because I know he has one,
Okay.
and then we'll let
Oh,
you, give you a chance to share one last thought, anything
okay.
you wanna share. So,
So
Bryce?
my final question for you, Bobby, and this is I like to end our podcast with this, and Summer, you know where I'm going with this. It's a two-parter. So, what do you want your legacy to be when you, your your career is over, and what do you want your what do you want your son's legacy to be as, someone living his best life with Down syndrome?
Oh, that's a great question. I've been thinking a lot about legacy recently, because I'm actually teaching a gerontology course this semester, and so we're talking a lot about late life and, how we tend to focus on our legacy, what we're leaving behind at that point in time, and I'm nowhere close to that age demographic, but
Right,
I am
right, right.
thinking about legacy. Um, and the more I've thought about it, I think, um, I think it's really becoming more clear to me. I've accomplished a lot in my career. I'm a full professor. I have tenure. I'm the chair of my department, and I don't know that I want any of that to be my legacy. I want my legacy to be that I was Lisa's husband and I was Lydia's and Josiah's dad, and that we did family well. And if we do family well, then that's enough for me. For Josiah, man, I'm gonna tear up. Um, I can't put into words what I want his legacy to be, partly because I don't know. I want it to be whatever he wants it to be, and I wanna be I wanna be the biggest cheerleader behind him that I can. I want him to know that, um, I've got his back, and I'm gonna be right beside him no matter what, and I want him to hold on to those words, "Dream big," and whatever those dreams are, I know he's gonna crush it, and I I guess I just can't wait to see what legacy he's writing because I know it's phenomenal.
Wow,
That's beautiful.
I can't, I can't end the podcast any better than that. Wow. Um,
Well,
well, all I can say is that we will be right there for Champions for his journey, and we cannot wait to see what you continue to do in the disability space and what Josiah and Julia continue to do on their journey because we're huge champions and advocates for this space, and we just love hearing everything to do with people's lives and journeys. And
Bobby, thank you so much for being a guest today. Love to have you on again. Um,
Yeah,
you're amazing. You're amazing advocate, amazing dad, and just you've been an amazing guest today. We appreciate you taking the time to have a conversation with us.
absolutely.
absolutely. And thank you so much for having me, and, uh, I hope you guys are hearing this from all corners, but this podcast is needed, and I am so proud of you 2 for taking this on, and I look f I man, I love listening to it, I love that I'm following on all the platforms, so, and I can't wait for the big guests you have coming up, that's gonna be awesome, so congratulations and keep this up.
Thank
Thank
you,
you
my
so
friend. We really
much.
appreciate it.
That means a lot to us. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Bryce,
All
you wanna
right.
sign us off?
Absolutely. With that being said, for Where the Ramp Ends, I'm Bryce.
I'm Summer.
This is Where the Ramp Ends and where your journey begins. Till next time. Bye bye.